Welcome to Storytime at the Rubus, a weekly podcast about the Bonnaroo Music and Arts Festival. I'm Charlotte.
I'm Daniel.
How are you doing, Daniel?
A little wet. There's yet another hurricane coming through the deep south that came out of the Gulf. I think this is number 4 or 5.
This is Zeta.
Zeta?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I didn't. I forgot about the name. I was giving it the number.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think this is the 4th or the 5th one that has come through this area down from the Gulf. Man, I feel bad for all of our friends that are down in the New Orleans area or down around Mobile or the Florida Panhandle.
Oh, I can't imagine.
It's just been one thing after another. We were setting this up to record outside on our back porch, and it's raining a little bit, and I'm like, you know what? I kind of like the background noise, and I feel like the rain fits in for 2020 anyways.
It's so cozy. Yeah, I got off work, and I took a 4-hour nap.
You did. I was a little concerned about you for a minute there. So, yeah, there's been a lot going on in the past couple of weeks. There was some news last week, even as we were recording, but we were talking about so much that we didn't really touch base on it. I'm not going in any particular order here, but one of them was that Bonnaroo 21 is moving to September. So they originally moved it to June from this year, and now it's pushed back to September. What were your thoughts on that when you first read about it?
I mean, I'm fine with it. It's over Labor Day, so I think that will affect a lot of people's plans for it. You know, a lot of people can't take off work over the holidays. A lot of people, I was seeing comments out there where a lot of people who go to school or work in schools, things like that, they were saying they can't take off that time of year.
Yeah, that'll be a little tough. I mean, it's great that they put it on a holiday weekend where you do have that little extra wiggle room.
Right. On the other hand, I think that there are people who, a holiday weekend, I'm off that weekend.
Yeah.
Etc. So, I mean, it is going to affect the schedule for some folks.
You know, I remember a couple of years ago, they sent one of those surveys out after Bonnaroo, like a couple of weeks after, you know, everybody got home and got settled in. They always ask for feedback in those surveys. And one of the questions that year, 2 or 3 years ago maybe, they asked, would you come to Bonnaroo if it was on Memorial Day weekend?
I remember that. It was some question about the date changing or something, yeah.
You know, I mean, this was in ye olden day of 2 years ago when the festival market was a little crowded and there were some other festivals happening around the same time, you know. Like, for example, Electric Forest is the weekend after Bonnaroo, if I remember right. So they were looking into potentially changing the date then. And that was something that they looked into, was making it on a holiday weekend. So I think that works out well this time, that it will be on that Labor Day weekend. There's other events that happen that same weekend.
Right.
In theory, Burning Man would be that same weekend, which may suck for some people because you can't do both now. Dragon Con, kind of like the Comic Con of the East Coast of the South. Yeah, it happens on Labor Day weekend. So again, I know 2 people in particular, Mitchell and Sarah, may bemoan that fact a little bit because they like going to Dragon Con too. But no, I think it's a smart thing. And in terms of playing it safe for next year, it's anticipated that a vaccine for COVID might be available early next year, but it might not be widely distributed by then. So it would be cutting it super close. So for them to push it back, from June to September, that's 3 months, 4 months, something like that? That gives them that extra wiggle room to ensure that it can go off, well, I mean, not without a hitch, but that it can happen, you know. I think it was smart to play it safe like that. And I have no problem with it. In fact, I really don't, because Bonnaroo will be on my birthday now.
Oh, true. Yes. Yeah.
Which kind of sucks because it was going to be on our anniversary. Yeah, but now it
changed to your birthday.
Yeah, that's going to be a really good birthday. Oh, man. So my birthday will be on the Thursday of that Bonnaroo on the first day. Man, I would not have been on this planet if I got to see Tame Impala on my birthday at Bonnaroo. Oh, my God.
Cannot imagine.
No, well, I mean.
It'd just be too much.
Yeah.
And to leave you.
That's one reason I think that the schedule changed, because Tame Impala released their rescheduled dates for next year, and of course there is a big Bonnaroo-sized gap in their tour right around the same time. So I mean, I feel like we maybe not can count on it, but can assume it to be the case, you know, because it ain't just me. I'm probably the biggest Bonnaroovian that wants to see that happen, but I know there's tons of others too.
Exactly,
so I have that to look forward to in 2/3 of a year, 3/4 of a year, something like that.
I saw a couple of people already making countdowns. So it's like 300 and something days.
300 and something? I can live with it. So there was another bit of news that is kind of heartbreaking. It's really sad that I didn't want to not talk about. Mayor Lonnie Norman, who had been mayor for quite some time in Manchester, and I believe was 79 years old.
Yeah.
Man, it didn't seem like he was 79. He was running around at Bonnaroo when we saw him, like anybody. But he contracted COVID, and he passed a couple weeks ago. And, man, that's just a gut punch for the city of Manchester, Coffee County, and all of us that call Bonnaroo home for a long weekend a year. I guess we got a short story that we can share where we hung out with him that once. He, well, it's kind of funny. We came in early that year. We had the bus parked. We were pretty much the only thing out in general admission RV. And we were kind of setting up early. And all of a sudden, this big cop SUV pulls up out of the front gate. Do you remember that? We were all like, oh, crap.
We were like, oh, no, what did we do?
What did we do? They think we're not supposed to be here, or they're going to search the bus or something. And we're just kind of out there looking at them, and these two, like, cops that look like WWE wrestlers come out of either side, kind of looking at us. They got on their sunglasses. They look like they mean serious business. And then all of a sudden, one of them opens the back door, and here walks out Mayor Lonnie. Yeah, do you remember that? Yeah. And then he walks over, he's like, I'm Mayor Lonnie. I'm mayor of the city of Manchester. I just want to thank y'all for coming out. What can you tell me about this bus? This is cool.
Yes, he signed the bus.
Yeah.
Which was super cool. He was a super nice guy.
Oh, my gosh. He was the sweetest guy. He was asking, what bands we recommended for him to go see, and he was telling us what restaurants in Manchester he recommended that we go eat at and everything. And we hung out with him for a good solid half hour that day, him and the two cops that showed up. And he was just the most hospitable guy. I felt like he was the best representation of, like, the best kind of Southern hospitality that you can possibly imagine.
Exactly.
And he cared so much for his town in Bonnaroo. They made a point of it the past few years to give the key to the city to an artist that, they would pick. We saw him give it to Old Crow Medicine Show, and was it Brandy Carlisle? Yeah, he came out on stage and talked to her and gave her the key. And Katz from Old Crow, he just thought that was the coolest thing. They got that, and then they did an old Bob Dylan song where it's like, let's all get stoned. He's like, Mayor Lonnie's going to come take that key right back from us. But, I mean, he did so much for the city that most of us who only come, just that one weekend a year couldn't possibly know about. He was the biggest proponent of civil service and doing what you could for your town and being kind and hospitable. And I feel like there's going to be stories to come for years from Mayor Lonnie. And somebody recommended to us on Twitter, said that it would be a great idea to rename something in Bonnaroo after Mayor Lonnie.
I think it'd be awesome.
What do you think would be good to name after him?
I don't know.
Somebody said the Fountain. I thought that would be cool. Yeah. I think it would be cool if the whole Planet Roo area was named after him, because a lot of that has to do with like volunteerism and service and nonprofit groups, and I feel like that fits him so well. So like something like the Mayor Lonnie Planet Roo area. I don't know. I need somebody that knows how to name these things better, give it a name, but something like that. I just think that would be fantastic. I feel like that would fit him very well. And they already had the service, but if you want to do something to remember Mayor Lonnie, his family recommended that in lieu of flowers or whatever, to make a donation to St. Jude Hospital or the Bonnaroo Works Fund. Mm-hmm. And that would be great. We pitched in $10 in his name. When you donate to the Works Fund, there is a little form where you can put a comment where you could say that it's in memory of somebody. Right. So we put a little comment saying that it was in memory of all his good work for the city of Manchester and Coffee County and all of us Bonnaroovians that call it home for a long weekend a year. He's just going to be dearly missed. He was the sweetest guy, and I just can't say enough. That sucks, man. He had just been reelected, too.
Well, we have more to talk about, but Daniel, I heard you got to talk to Dave from the Monkey Bar.
Yeah, so about a month ago, Brooklyn and I went to our second speakeasy roo that we had at Lindsay's property up kind of near Winchester. Lindsay from Roo Fitness, of course, he has a couple of acres that he uses as campground property, and that's where we had our little miniature speakeasy Bonnaroos this year, since there was no real Bonnaroo. But this time, Dave, who usually camps at Camp Red Room, brought his whole monkey bar set up. Now, you've been in there before, too, right?
I have been to the monkey bar. It's phenomenal.
Do you remember your time at the Monkey Bar?
Yes, I remember my time at the Monkey Bar.
Well, he makes a point of it to get everybody sauced up in there. That's what I was asking, yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, you and I have been in there pretty much every year for the past 2 or 3 years, it seems like. We come for the Red Roo Beer Exchange and kind of wander our way in there. And last year, Taco and Brad and Barry were in there recording the What podcast, and we came and trolled them for a little bit. And Dave was just over there serving drinks in the corner. We knew of him and knew his name before, but I hadn't really got to spend a lot of time with him until, like I said, about a month ago. And I swear, he is the sweetest guy.
He's the nicest person.
You ever meet one of these people that just genuinely wants everybody to have a good time?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
They want to make sure you're doing good and you're enjoying your time. That's him. I cannot think of a better example. And he has such a cool story, and I talked with him this past week. Would you like to hear it?
Sure.
All right, hey guys, I'm here with my buddy Dave. He runs the Monkey Bar over at Camp Red Roo. If you've ever been to the Beer Exchange or some of the fun events that they do over there, you've probably run into him. How's it going, man?
Hey, it's going real good. How about yourself?
Oh, I can't complain. We were just hanging out just now talking about how it's finally turned into fall, so we've been getting outside and doing stuff and seeing the leaves look like an explosion outside,
Oh, tell me. I know it. I hope it stays like this a little bit longer. That'd be great.
So you're up in Johnson City. How is everything up there? How's the weather and how's all the fall leaves looking?
Oh, fall leaves are gorgeous. This is the best color display we've had in probably at least a half a decade. We got the right about at peak right now. In fact, I think this coming week is the peak for fall colors in our area. So we got different shades of red, orange, yellow, brown, green. Everything's still going on. So this is like a really great time right now. And we have some unseasonably warm weather these past few days and for the next couple as well. So it's like got the best of both worlds. We got the fall colors and the summer weather. So, yeah, life is great weather-wise up here right now. So I can't complain.
You tend to travel around a fair bit. You're over there in East Tennessee in Johnson City, which I'm sure a lot of people travel through on their way to Bonnaroo every year when it is going on. You've told me some stories about places you've gone to. Like, where all have you been to the past couple of years?
As far as just traveling in and around the region, I mean, I'm very much an outdoors person, and this area is great. I mean, you got the Appalachian Mountains, like about half an hour south. I got different lakes around here, Watauga Lake, Boone Lake, Holston Lake, just right at the base of the mountains. Several rivers. I know most notably the Nolechucky River is just south of here, and there's whitewater rafting and canoeing and everything like that. So this is a great part of the country if you like the outdoors and you also like to see the seasons come and go. This is like a great area. So I've done a little bit of all of that around through here. Surprisingly enough, we even have some skiing nearby. Yeah, mostly in western North Carolina. But that's still only like an hour to hour and a half away. Some of the best skiing, at least in this relatively local area, if you don't want to travel too far away.
Do you ever do any of that?
Do what?
Do you ever do any of that? Do you go skiing and stuff?
I do a little bit. Am I good at it? No. I try to stay. I try to stay on my feet and try not to crash. And
so maybe it's more falling than skiing, right?
Yeah, pretty much. But I get involved in that a little bit from time to time. I have some friends who are a little bit better at snow skiing. I try to go to find a smaller slope where they allow inner tubing and sledding and try to opt that option instead. But no, it's a great area. I love this whole area, and I've traveled quite a bit just over the years, like you mentioned. I've been to every state east of the Mississippi except for Vermont, and I'm going to make it there one of these days. And been pretty much west of the Mississippi except for that cluster of rectangle states, kind of in the middle of the out west area. So I've kind of traveled around a little bit with work and during some military service, that sort of thing. But more recently, I've been keeping most of the travel, locally and regionally, just staying kind of put.
We're so spoiled in this area around the Appalachians to have so much scenery and so much hiking and cool little towns like Chattanooga or Asheville or Johnson City, where it's not just like the scenery, but like kind of like the cool little artsy towns that spring up. We were just in Chattanooga last weekend hanging out with Barry and Taco from the What podcast, and you and I were talking. It's so cool because like you can be in a really cool hiking spot and then just have a 5 or 10 minute drive and be at this little hipster bar.
Exactly, yeah. And Johnson City, where I live, has a lot of elements of that. I mean, they just in the past 2 months they've opened up 2 more microbreweries, and we have 6 now in our tiny town, which I never thought I'd live to see the day that happened. But we've got some of the little bohemian elements around here. Some little cafes, art shops, things like that. You can always catch a poetry slam or some singer songwriters in the area. So it's got that feel. I like the feel that I like to think this is the place where a lot of the hippie community winters over in between festival seasons.
Like hippie snowbirds. They don't go to Florida. They go to like mountainy towns.
Yeah, definitely. But it's college town, 60,000 people plus or minus. So it's got a disproportionately larger, younger community, and that helps drive a lot of the businesses and a lot of the attractions that we have around this area. But it's exactly like you said. And just south of here, 1 hour south is Asheville, North Carolina, and of course that's very much a bohemian kind of town. I love getting over there every chance I can get, and I'm long overdue. In fact, I might do that tomorrow, catch the fall colors crossing the Appalachian Mountains. So that's it's definitely so. I have to look at these next few days while we're still at peak colors.
Yep. So speaking of bohemian bars, that's the reason I've got you on today. You are the guy that is kind of the force behind the Monkey Bar. And I know a lot of people listening will have at least visited once or twice, but they may not necessarily know the story behind it. Can you tell a little bit about like when you started it and like why you decided to do something crazy like that?
Absolutely. I had all sort of started at my very first Bonnaroo in 2009. The first time I went to Bonnaroo, and I went solo, and I saw that there was really no place around Bonnaroo anywhere where you could just get a cocktail and chill. And I thought, well, I could build something like that in my own little campsite. And the following year, I ended up going with a group of people. There was like about 12 of us. And it started just as some of the basics. I had a table and some chairs, not too much else. And then each year, a little more added, a couple more elements, had some more tapestries, finally had a little bit of music and some speakers, that sort of thing going on. But it didn't have a name. It just was just called Dave's Bar or The Bar for a few years. Finally, I guess it was the spring of 2014, I helped a friend of mine move, and he had a lot of stuff that he just didn't want to take with him to his new place. And one of the things he had was an inflatable monkey. And so I thought, oh, cool, I'm going to take that with me to Bonnaroo.
I didn't know about that part.
Yeah, I'm going to take them to a tent pole and take them to see the Arctic monkeys. That was the plan.
I remember that show.
So we did that, and after Arctic Monkeys, I remember I just hung him up above the bar, have a little glassware rack that lights up, and hang all the margarita glasses and wine glasses, and so had him hanging above there. And somebody walked by and was like, "Oh, you all have your own bar," and looked up and saw the monkey and said, "You have your own little monkey bar."
Oh.
And the name just sort of stuck, and so it has been the Monkey Bar ever since. And finally, I guess after about 2 or 3 years, I was talking to a local artist here in Johnson City. I had commissioned her to do a piece for me, and I mentioned the bar, and she asked if I had a logo for it, and I said no. And we actually put our heads together and came up with a design, and it's been sort of like the Monkey Bar trademark.
Is that what's on the stickers that you hand out? Because I got one on the bus, I got one on the fridge. Yeah.
That's both the sign and the stickers. You know, it has that main Monkey Bar logo where it's, you know, the wording is, the letters are in black with the Y in red, which also doubles as the monkey,
where he swings,
which also doubles as a martini. So yeah, we kind of put a little bit of thought into that logo.
That's clever. You know, when I've come in there, both at Bonnaroo and where you brought it down to our little speakeasy room down in Tennessee about a month ago, like, it's so eclectic in there. You got like so many crazy things hanging up, like, and I didn't really understand until I hung out with you for a long time in there about a month ago. Like, each little area has its own little theme. Can you tell a little bit about that?
Sure. When I put together this bar, you know, as I mentioned, it sort of happened in stages. The last thing I wanted to do is for it to just look, you know, sterile and barren. I didn't want it to be, you know, a guy with a bottom shelf whiskey and a sleeve of red Solo cups, you know, sitting under a canopy.
Well, you can see that at pretty much every campsite, yeah.
Yeah, you can see that anywhere. And so I'm very visual, and I like a lot of color. So I wanted to bring a lot of those elements. I wanted to bring a lot of different tapestries, you know, some floors in there, multicolored. Even the tables, I finally found a use for all the stickers I've been collecting over a decade at Bonnaroo. Finally applied them to all the tables there. So it's like anybody who walks in, immediately they start looking around. Their eyes just wander all over the place, and you can kind of see it when they walk into the Monkey Bar. They don't have to say anything, but you can see their body language. It says, wow. Because, you know, we have, even at night, there's multicolored lights in every corner of the bar. You know, there's areas to kind of like chill. There's areas to get a drink and socialize. It's sort of just kind of worked its way into that direction. And it kind of helps that I started doing a little bit of bartending about 5 years ago. I even went to bartending college for a few weeks just to learn how to make a couple tasty cocktails to bring to the farm. And it's just kind of built on that. And I want there to be, you know, just something for everyone there in the bar.
Now, you mentioned to me about a month ago that you had some people come in and notice some of the pride flags in one corner and felt like it was just a good spot to be, because like it felt like a really accepting place.
That's one of the things that surprised us. One of the things that we did last year at Bonnaroo, and this was the second year that the Monkey Bar has been set up at Camp Reddaroo, which has usually been one of the largest, if not the largest, groups in group camping. Yeah. As a tribute to the Pride community in the first Pride parade at Bonnaroo, we had a little section of the Monkey Bar just decked out in Pride colors, and we actually called that quadrant of the Monkey Bar Brad's Pit, just because we thought it'd be clever and it'd be easy to remember. And one of the things we found out is that by being so welcoming to the Pride community at the Monkey Bar, a lot of other individuals, they also felt welcome and safe at the Monkey Bar. And I never intended the bar to be a safe space, but a lot of people were referring to the Monkey Bar as a safe space. And my reaction was like, oh, okay, you know, we'll take it. Great, you know. But I did notice significantly more people visiting the Monkey Bar last year, as well as more people staying longer, just because it did have that welcoming feel. And we were also a little bit better at doing our part, you know, cranking out the drinks quickly. I mean, having multiple cocktails in 1 gallon beverage towers that we could whip out.
Yeah, like big tubes that are like 3 feet tall or something like that. You come in there and look at the bar, and there's like 4 or 5 of them, each with like a different, really bright color. And you give each of those drinks like a funny name, named after like a band or something local to Manchester or whatever. Can you tell me some of the names of some of those drinks?
Yeah, a couple of those just happened by chance. A couple of the drinks. The first time I got an idea for bringing like our unique drink names to the Monkey Bar, it happened when I saw an episode of Bar Rescue. They made over a bar in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, just north of the farm,
Mm-hmm.
and they gave it a name of Murfreesboro Crush, which I thought that had a really good name. It was something that people traveling to the farm from around the country and even around the world would really be intrigued, like, okay, what is this local concoction called a Murfreesboro Crush? I got to try it. And so that turned out to be a very popular drink. A few other common and trendy drinks we modified a little bit. There's the Washington Apple, and we came up with our own version called the Manchester Apple. It's essentially the same thing, whiskey, sour apple schnapps, and cranberry juice, only we use a blend of bottom shelf whiskeys, for that truly, unique Bonnaroo blend, also because it's significantly cheaper.
Yeah.
Some other drinks we've modified a little bit. There's a Sex on the Beach. We came up with a hand job in the creek.
You killed me with that.
Nice,
yeah.
Yeah, it's a nice sound to it. We're even thinking about a couple different cocktails to come up with next year for the Monkey Bar. I'm working on one called the Squarch, because I think that would be popular. Everyone's heard of the Squarch.
I think your drink is going to be more popular than the Squarch itself.
Yeah, I think so. We found out that the name of a drink sells. It helps if you have a good drink and good content, but a lot of people will judge the drink simply by its name. So,
now, I want to point out, you're saying it sells, but you aren't selling any of this stuff. It's just up for grabs, right?
Yes. We actually, for the most part, we run the Monkey Bar just like a church potluck.
Yeah.
Where
but for booze.
Something. Yeah, everybody brings something. Everybody gets something. Only instead of bringing a covered dish or a meatloaf, someone brings a handle of whiskey or a couple bags of ice, and we put everything together. And what do you know? We end up having a bar.
Yeah.
And we've been doing it that way for a couple reasons. Number one, we're limited to how much alcohol you can bring to the farm per person. An excess amount could be confiscated at the gate. And the second reason is the Bonnaroo rules. They actually prohibit you from selling anything unless you're an actual vendor. So just running it like a church potluck allows us to bypass both of those issues and still have a full service bar for everyone. I typically bring enough to get it up and running. I can get there first before anyone else and start a few signature cocktails and a few common drinks. And then just as the hours and the next few days roll by, people start bringing things in. We've got like a steady supply of mixers, alcohol, you name it. And it's also helped that I've had like various bartenders, baristas, servers from the past couple of years, especially since it's been in group, who have experience and they know some signature cocktails from their area of the country, and they've been able to throw together a few of their own unique beverages that have been featured at the Monkey Bar. So it's just one of these things that it's almost taken on a life of its own. There for several years, I just did this in general admission camping, just with my group of typically 10 to 12 people that I go with and our surrounding camp neighbors. But a few years ago, when I went to the beer exchange that was held by Camp Reddaroo, I got the idea that I could actually move the Monkey Bar to another level and bring it over to group camping and just see if it could thrive in that kind of environment. What would it be like?
I feel like it's done more than thrive over there. Like, my first introduction to you, I guess, was your first year that you had done that over at Camp Reddaroo, because we came through the beer exchange. Charlotte and I brought a number of things to swap out or whatever, and our buddy Mitchell was there, and he's like, "Oh, come with me," you know how he does. He's a mile a minute.
Oh yeah.
I love him for it.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, come with me over here to the monkey bar. And he'll come in there and, like, he gets me lit on 2 of those specialty drinks you're talking about. And I was like, when I came in, I thought, like, oh, this is just a bunch of people from Redwood that have, like, mashed together a bunch of their camp supplies and flags and crazy things that you had in there. I did not realize until I was spending a good amount of time with you last month that it was all you, basically. So I was just, like, flabbergasted that you were able to do all that.
Yeah, well, it's I came up with the idea, and as far as the actual bar itself and most of the layout and design, I've come up with most of that on my own. The alcohol and supplies and all that, I rely heavily on the rest of the attendees coming in. I'm usually able to bring in enough to get it off the ground, but to keep it running, it just requires a lot of contribution, input from the rest of the attendees. But yeah, as far as moving it, it's I've got it down to a science, because you've seen the bar. It's pretty big, and I've got the whole thing broken down and fit into the back of my truck and on the roof rack. I've literally taken advantage of every cubic inch of space I could find to make it all fit. Because you saw how big the bar is, and people are like, wow, you fit all this in your truck?
I mean, for anybody that hasn't visited it, it's 4 of, like, the big canopies put together. You've got the bar area in one corner, and then there's kind of, like, 2 or 3 different rooms full of, like, you know, there's, like, a nice little padded floor, and there's, like, tables and chairs, like, not just, like, you know, tables and chairs like you see at anybody's camp, but, like, big ones that fold out into couches and everything. So, yeah, I don't know what kind of Tetris you're playing to get that all back there.
Yeah, it's it was a little bit challenging to get everything to work. In fact, between the 4 bar stools and all the seating in the lounge area, that's seating for 25. And all of that seating, actually, I managed to compress that and fit it in the roof rack on top of my truck.
That's wild.
So that's actually, it's actually kind of, it's a little bit, challenging to get it all to work, but I made everything kind of fit as best as I could, keep it as compact as possible. But, it's, I'm hoping eventually I can talk Camp Reddaroo into providing just a 20 by 20 tent, and we could fit the entire monkey bar under that.
That'd be cool.
Because right now, as you mentioned, it's 4 10 by 10 easy up canopies, just in a square, 20 by 20, and it makes it easy in that it's much more compact, and each component is more lightweight. But the 4 canopies, it does still add, like, the biggest bulk to to everything I have to haul. But the way we lay it out, and we've kind of tweaked it over time the last few years. But you walk in, you immediately walk into a standing room only area under that first canopy.
Yeah.
And then you see the 2 other canopies. Each one's a lounge. We have one called Brad's Pit, and another one we call the Playboy Lounge, simply because I got a hold of some Playboy-themed tapestries. And then the other most important corner is the monkey bar itself, where we even have some bar stool seating around that, and the bar and the liquor behind it. And it looks just like a bar, and for the most part, it functions no different than any bar anywhere else, other than the selection may not be as extreme, and it's got some other differences. But for a pop-up bar in the middle of the farm, I've never seen anything even close to like it at Bonnaroo or any festival for that matter.
As far as that selection goes, that depends on, like, what everybody brings you. And I mean, that's another reason for people to stop by and bring you a handle of something that's one of their favorite drinks, right? I mean, if I would suggest for anybody that's going to come to the beer exchange on, what is it, Friday or Saturday? I can't remember right now. I think it's on Friday.
Yeah, usually Friday. Yeah, late morning to early afternoon.
Bring a handle of your favorite drink for a cocktail, too, to donate to the Monkey Bar and get a couple of things while you're there, while you're doing the beer exchange,
Oh, exactly. We've had people who are not affiliated with Camp Rotorua, or even group camping for that matter, who have tracked us down, and they're like, hey, we heard about the Monkey Bar, we came out here looking for you, and we brought a handle of tequila.
Yeah.
We're like, welcome to the Monkey Bar.
Yeah, and the thing I want to stress is it isn't so much the alcohol, even though that's a plus. It's that you have created this like cool spot just to hang out, where like I swear it is some of the best representation of Southern hospitality. Just come and hang out with people, get a little tipsy, and have fun for a couple hours before you head into Center and go watch music.
Exactly, and that's what I wanted to do. As I mentioned, at the beginning, there really was never a place to get a cocktail at Bonnaroo and just chill. I've kind of recreated our own version of that in the campgrounds, just a place where anyone's welcome. Ever since the movie Wedding Crashers, of course, we get like a few people crashing the Monkey Bar, but that's just a few people here and there, and we've usually been able to identify them, and we're like, hey, look, we know you're not part of our group, but if you want to help us keep the party going, we could use some ice. And they're like, oh, okay. So they wander off, and we figure, well, that's the last we're going to see of them. Well, 30 minutes later, they show up with 5 pounds of ice.
Yep.
or 5 bags of ice, and we're just like, wow, okay, cool, perfect time, and we just ran out. So it's been one of those things we've tried to be open to everyone. We've never had anybody come in there and stir anything up, cause any trouble, or any crashers that just show up and stay there. I mean, everyone's been really respectful about it, because I think the Monkey Bar, we've actually strived to be open to everyone. And then for the most part, it's just been, our primarily Camp Rotorua and some of their friends, and a few people that, people meet over the weekend that, they invite them back to the Monkey Bar. But we've had a few crashers, a few people walking by, a few people just destined to, find this Monkey Bar that they heard of from somewhere.
You became kind of a fabled myth for a little bit there, because a lot of people heard about it or saw stickers or whatever, and heard like, wow, kind of an open bar where I can just come get a mixed drink. So yeah, word gets out. The problem had been that it was kind of in the maze of the group camping area. But if they continue with the plans that they had for this year that never happened, it sounds like it might be a little bit more accessible. And that's one reason I wanted to have you on, is to encourage everybody like, hey, yeah, come see it, but also come help Dave out. Bring something in, and if you're there early, or if you were there on Monday morning, helping to set it up or break it down, I'm sure be appreciated as well.
Exactly, and we've gotten more assistance from people and more cooperation. And I think after the Monkey Bar created its own Facebook page and Instagram, that got a lot more recognition. The handle is actually the same for both of them. It's the Monkey Bar Bonnaroo. That's for Facebook and Insta. And a lot of people, they go on to Facebook and on Instagram, and they just type in Bonnaroo just to look for any pages with the Bonnaroo name in it. And we've had people find us that way. They're like, oh, wow, the Monkey Bar. I didn't know this was a thing. And so it's gotten some notoriety. It's become sort of Bonnaroo infamous in a sense. It's been kind of strange when I brought it to group camping, and we were all set up on Thursday night, and I just started seeing the Bonnaroo taxi cabs pulling up directly to the Monkey Bar.
Are you for real?
I knew we were kind of on the map at that point, and I was like, oh wow, people kind of know about this. So when you catch a cab and say, take me to the Monkey Bar, it's kind of like, it's kind of scary.
If the pedicab guys know, then I guess you're on the map.
Exactly. But it's been, to an extent, a labor of love, but I've had a blast putting this thing together and just seeing it evolve and take off on a life of its own the past several years. And it's been an opportunity for me to just create my own little renegade bar in the middle of the farm, where I can just, have a place, welcome to everyone, no rules, just be kind, just be respectful, live by the Bonnaroo Code. We've never had any issues from anyone. No theft, no vandalism. Nothing. It's just been a place where people get back to the basics. Everyone has a good time and has a few drinks, a few shots before heading out into Bonnaroo to catch the evening shows. So, want to keep it going as long as we possibly can.
Well, listen, Dave, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. And more importantly, thanks so much for your hospitality and positivity with the Monkey Bar over the years. I mean, I was joking around. It was great to come in and have a drink, but I think the kind of vibe that you create inside of there is more important than that. And it's always like one of our stops every year, at least 2 or 3 times. So, So I love seeing it every year, and I love that you came down to our last speakeasy room where we can have it there too. Man, you're just a blessing to all of us, dude, and I really appreciate it.
Well, super. I have a good time, bringing it out there. I appreciate all your kind words on that, and I look forward to seeing you and the Rubus out there the next time we have the Monkey Bar set up, whether it's at the Speakeasy or back in Manchester.
Heck yeah,
we'll definitely be there.
Sounds good, man.
Thank you, Dave, for hanging out with us. And please, everybody, come bring him a little something next year.
Come down and help him out, too. We talked about about how he brings 4 different easy ups and so much like camping furniture to his whole setup. He's got little, soft floor mats and everything. Mm-hmm. A lot of times he ends up putting that up and taking it down by himself. So if you're in the group camp area or near us in Gerald Mission RV, make a point to go hang out with him, help him out a bit. He'll give you a drink, bring him a handle of something so you can contribute to his church potluck of booze like we talked about. I mean, that's basically what it is, We brought him a handle of something last year we came down there, right?
I brought him a couple of handles.
Oh, really? Yeah. That's one of our first stops after we pull the bus in.
After I get settled, I got to take my
we'll go visit
my
camp.
booze today.
Yeah, we'll go visit Red Room and bring a couple of things like, Dave, here we're hooking you up, man. He's like, oh, it's so good to see you guys. But yeah, he's one of these people that, we talked earlier about how Mayor Lonnie was super hospitable. That's Dave, too.
True, yes.
Like, he sets that up. It's basically his home for the weekend, and he just wants everybody to come visit him and have a good time. He's just like a pure Bonnarooian in every sense of the word. And, yeah, I love people like him.
Exactly, yeah.
But it's so amazing. Hey, so one last thing we want to talk about for this episode. This is going to be publishing shortly before the weekend before Election Day. Now, as I am sure everyone has seen, if you've logged into any kind of social media for the past, month, you are being told every which way to register to vote absentee, to mail in your ballot. What are other ways that you've seen it?
Wait, vote for what?
Oh, yeah. Vote. We're voting for something? We're voting for best band? No, everybody knows very well what you're voting for, and hopefully you understand the stakes of what we're voting for. Now, I'm going to say this. Charlotte and I have made a point to not be very political on anything that we brand with Rubus because we want it to be something very inclusive and, that just encompasses the Bonnaroo spirit for everyone, regardless of your opinion on things. Now, we have a little bit to say, not as, the caretakers of the Rubus, but just as your neighbors and friends, Daniel and Charlotte. This is just our opinion. If you have another opinion, we respect it, and we still care tremendously about you. But I'll just put it short and sweet. The past 3 or 4 years, everybody has seen what's going on. And they tell you at the farm to not be that guy or that girl. And I feel like we have seen that guy the past 3 years or so. I'm not going to get deep into it, and I'm not going to tell you how to vote. But I do feel that Bonnaroo is something that is the product of the counterculture of the late 60s.
Right.
You and I watched a movie the other night, The Trial of the Chicago 7,
yes,
which I feel is very pertinent. That isn't a reflection of history. Let's be clear. It's an artistic interpretation of history. So I encourage you to read up, maybe start with the Wikipedia article about the trial of the Chicago 7 that happened in 1968. They were college kids and people around the age of Bonnaroovians who were protesting the draft and the Vietnam War. I feel like a lot of us would have been doing the same if we were born in that area. And it was that movement that spawned Woodstock. It was that was integral to a lot of the music at the time. You know, the Grateful Dead was a part of this. You know, a lot of the music festivals apart from Woodstock came about because of this counterculture movement in the late 60s, right? Mm-hmm. That movement, if it weren't for that, the music festivals that we're attending today might not exist, and they certainly wouldn't look the same, because it's the counterculture that's spurred from the late 60s that brought this about. We certainly wouldn't be here without it, don't you think?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So what I'm encouraging everybody to do is do a little reading, do a little self-introspection. What we've seen in the past 3 or 4 years hasn't exactly been radiation of positivity. We've seen, you know, our gay and transgender brother and sisters be left out of a lot of things, or not feel great about themselves because of the conversation that's ongoing in our country. We've seen things happen to our neighbors and friends of color that make them, in some cases, fearful. And you know what? I'm not cool with them feeling like that. I feel like a lot of what has been going on the past couple of years has brought about that. And there is an easy way to change that. One thing that struck with me in that movie, The Trial of Chicago 7, Sacha Baron Cohen, the same guy that plays Borat, of all people, he plays Abby Hoffman, who was kind of a revolutionary type person.
Counterculture activist.
Counterculture activist, yeah. If you've seen Forrest Gump, he's the guy in the American flag shirt that brings him on stage. But they asked him about revolution, and he said, well, in this country, we have a revolution every 4 years, which is true. We bring in new leadership and new government in every 4 years. And we have the chance now to point things in the other direction and make a vote for inclusiveness, for positivity, for a lot of things that we stand for at Bonnaroo. I personally feel like, again, this is just me speaking personally, not, you know, in any role that I play. How do you feel, Charlotte?
In the past few years, it has become fashionable to be cruel, to be crass, to only care about yourself. And a lot of our brothers and sisters have felt the impact of that.
Yeah. Yeah. This year particularly.
And, you know, I think that it's dwindled down to so many people in so many different walks of life.
Yeah.
I encourage you to vote for positivity.
Mm-hmm.
It's the best way that I can put it. Please vote for positivity. I'm not going to tell you how to vote, but please just go vote.
And we're not just talking about things on like a national scale. That comes to your local elected officials too. Don't pay any attention to the R or the D next to their name. Pay attention to what they stand for.
Right.
If they stand for the same values that we cherish on the farm, that we cherish as positive people in this day and age, that's what to vote for. Not their party, but what they stand for. And got a chance to stand for positivity this year, I believe.
Exactly.
Here on this Tuesday. So, again, if you disagree, I mean, it's not hard to read between the lines about what we're talking about. If you disagree, we still love you and respect you. And we're speaking to these things as Daniel and Charlotte, your neighbors, not as, you know, the caretakers of the Rue Bus or what have you. So, please, this Tuesday, you know, figure out when you're going to go vote. If you're working that day, figure out if you can do it during your lunch break or after you get off or maybe first thing in the morning. It's too late to mail it in. It's too late to do absentee by the time that you hear this. So you got to go in person. Wear your mask. Bring some hand sanitizer, maybe even some gloves or something like that. That's what we're going to do, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So do that. Talk your friends, your family into doing it too. This is a historic election in so many ways, and the coming weeks are going to decide where we go as a country, and it could decide, if we get to the farm sooner or later, I mean, in a lot of ways. But that's enough from us on that. We respect your opinion, and we care tremendously about you, even if you disagree. That's the beauty of this country. Any last thoughts, Charlotte?
No. I just encourage everyone to get out and vote.
Yep. We'll leave it there. We'll see you on the other side of the election. Get out there and radiate positivity.